Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Shenandoah Valley here in Black Mountain, North Carolina, through our virtual online service. My name is Robert Tynes and I'm a member of the board. Today's service is for Sunday, September 27th. And as a reminder, our services now begin at 10:45 on Sunday mornings and can be accessed at other times through our Facebook page or through the YouTube link found in the current newsletter, which you should be getting through email. This morning I have an announcement from our Social Action Committee. The Social Action Committee will be collecting socks this year for A Hope Day Center, which serves many homeless individuals and is operated by Homeward Bound. They will be collecting new socks from October 4th through October 18th, and they are needed for both women and men. New socks can be purchased at Ingles, CVS, and many other local stores that you may be frequenting, even though these are COVID-19 days. There will be a collection box in the portico of the church building, which will be open certain hours on specific days, so check the current newsletter for more details on that, and pickup can also be arranged. Thank you for helping out with this worthwhile project. I invite all of you to join us for our Zoom coffee hour starting right after the service today around 11:30. Just follow the link from the current newsletter to join us. All are welcome here at UUCSV, and we encourage you to share a link to future services with a friend or neighbor that you think would be interested. As we like to say, we need not think alike to love alike. Let's center ourselves and open our hearts and minds to the service today and what Reverend Carter has to say about time. And now, let the service begin. Cy? This is my grandson, Cy. Can you ring the bell to start the service? Okay.
Good morning and welcome to our service this morning at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Shenandoah Valley. I hope you had a good week, and I'm glad you took the time, or you're taking the time, to join us this morning. Our opening words this morning are from Unitarian Universalist M. Susan Milner. She writes, "We pause this hour to remember those whom we have lost and those whom we have fear of losing, those from whom we are separated and those to whom we would extend a helping hand, a caring heart, and the will to live. We pause this hour also to hope for life and for good living, for love and kind words, for reconciliation, for the support of family and friends, for meaning in our struggle for wholeness. May our memories and hope renew us for the days and the nights to come." I would ask you to stand as you are willing and able at home, but you don't have to do that, but you can join us in singing our opening hymn this morning. Hymn number 114, Forward Through the Ages. Hymn number 114. Our reading this morning, as usual, is in the back of the gray hymnal. It's reading number 555. It's called Some Things Will Never Change. Some things will never change. Some things will always be the same. The voice of forest water in the night, a woman's laughter in the dark, the clean, hard rattle of raked gravel, the cricketing stitch of midday in hot meadows, the delicate web of children's voices in bright air. Some things never change. The glitter of sunlight on roughened water, the glory of the stars, the innocence of morning, the smell of the sea in cities' harbors. These things will always be the same. The feathery blur and smoky buddings of young boughs, and something there that comes and goes that can never be captured. The thorn of spring, the sharp and tongueless cry. These things will never change. The leaf, the blade, the flower, the wind that cries and sleeps and wakes again, the trees whose stiff arms clash and tremble in the dark, and the dust of lovers long since buried in the earth. All these things will never change. All things proceeding from the earth to seasons, all things that lapse and change and come again upon the earth, these come up from the earth that never changes. They go back to the earth as we do. These things will never change. Pain and death will always be the same. But under the pavements, trembling like a pulse, under the buildings, trembling like a cry, under the waste of time, under the hoof of the beast, above the broken bones of cities, there will be something growing like a flower. We have a special treat this morning. We have the choir singing an anthem called Break Not the Circle, the UUCSV Tabernacle Choir.
Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes and embraces all the Come wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are renewed spoken, and we will keep no score of wrong and guilt, but will let human bonds remain unbroken. Join in the movement of the love and freeze, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and relation.
This is the time in our service when we invite you to share a joy, a concern, a sorrow. We do this for many reasons. It keeps our sense of community. It also lets me know who may need a pastoral call, but it also lets you know, I hope, that you are still part of a community. We're meeting virtually, but you pick up the phone or will pick up the phone and reach out and connect. So please take the time, if the Spirit moves you, to share a joy, a concern, a sorrow.
Good morning. I'm Larry, as most of you know, and I have a joy to share this morning. It may not seem like a big thing, but if you're a football fan, you know it's a big thing. And that is that my Arizona Cardinals are 2-0, having beaten San Francisco, who was last year's conference winner and in the Super Bowl, and then also Washington. And today, Sunday, we're going to crush Detroit and be 3-0. And I also wanted to give you a very little known fact. Larry Fitzgerald, probably the best receiver of all time, arguably, I know Jerry Rice is number one, was named after me. That's how he got his first name. Now, most people don't know that, but I'm just filling you in. And don't repeat that to anybody unless you want to be called a liar. Thanks so much. Good morning.
Finley got the chance yesterday morning to meet his soon-to-be new parents, Hope and Adam. Slowly over the next month, he will transition from Jim and Annelinde's home to theirs in Flat Rock, starting with 2 short visits this coming week. With gradually longer and more frequent visits, we hope he and his nearly 3-year-old brother Nathaniel complete their moves to this new home by the end of October. Their new parents have thankfully invited Poppy and Grammy, Jim and Annelinde, to be a continuing part of the boys' journey even after the transition is complete. Please send your hopes and warm thoughts about this big change for both of the boys.
For those of you who, for whatever reason, did not feel moved to share, know that we keep you in our hearts and in our minds. I want to share a meditation this morning. Please center yourselves as you see fit. And afterwards, we will have our time of silence. This meditation is called Reflections. We have gathered, bearing our presence, carrying our countenance. Like mirrors, we reflect all we have suffered, all we have celebrated, all we have collected from life even before arriving here. Darkness of winter, rebirth of spring, abundance of autumn, they are with us. We make this space sacred by all this and by our resolve to project onto the pathway of tomorrow our best and our brightest reflections. And now, while I have your attention in this brief moment, I leave you with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. It's that time. Time for the offertory. The greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. And so in that spirit, and I thank you ahead of time for your generosity, we now collect this morning's offering. We thank you for these gifts, and we appreciate your generosity to keep this liberal congregation going. Thank you. We have another treat from the choir, a piece called Ancient Mother. Ancient Mother, from UUSV's choir.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Oh, great bear, down in the hollow, white goose flying high in the sky. Circle round us, sacred mountains, joining hands, lift voices high. Sounds of laughter, of children playing, whispering winds, singing in the pines. Overhead, the snow goes falling, beneath our feet, gem and crystal mines. Father, Son, give us your light now. Mother Moon, help us be wise. Flowing waters, quench our thirst now. Northern lights, come paint our skies. Crickets sing, thunder rolling, splashing salmon will jump the falls. Listen closely to sounds around you. Ancient Mother's voice will call. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
Many of you have mentioned to me from time to time about the need to be able to at least try to navigate these challenging times, especially, but not limited to, the last 4 years, even before the time of COVID-19. And there are some who have even begun to measure time as before COVID, BC, and after COVID, even though we're still wrestling with the pandemic. My suggestion has always been this, and I may not have always used these exact words, but my suggestion has always been to try to bring the timeless into time. What do I mean by that? I mean that those timeless truths, be they religious or spiritual, sometimes they're not always the same thing, whether they're humanistic or earth-centered, call them what you will. These truths are timeless, and that is why we need them. Our ancestors needed them. Our ancestors needed them and used them to navigate their challenging times as well. Now, whether they be the UU principles, the Ten Commandments, the Beatitudes, the Buddhist Eightfold Path, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, whatever, the Vedas, the Upanishads, whatever you choose, they hold the key to a deeper reality, a moral reality, if you will. And some things, you see, some things were true 5,000 years ago, and they will be true 5,000 years from now. So if you are steeped in a religious tradition, for instance, the wisdom of Howard Thurman is always well worth noting. Thurman reminds us that the truth found in any religion is there because it's true. It's not true just because it's found in the religion. And I want to say it again. Any truth found in religion is there because it's true. It's not true just because it's found in the religion. There are truths that pre-existed religion. And so the context may be different, but the truth will remain. Why? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because the truths are timeless. They are priceless even. In other words, these truths are timeless and in some ways predate and are the basis of all religious thought and spiritual thought. Philosopher Alan Watts, for instance, tells us that the function of true religion is to turn anxiety into laughter. This is an existential truth, for we know as human beings the anxiety of human existence. Why? Because we know that at some point we will die. Especially in these times, we need these guideposts, these truisms, if you will, to help us navigate our existential fear. We must find a way, individually and collectively, to learn to navigate fear. We think hate is the enemy, but the enemy is fear. It paralyzes us. It disrupts our nervous systems so we cannot respond to situations or individuals. We can only react to them. These truths at times we forget about, and we have to rediscover them somehow. And maybe that's why we gather on Sunday mornings, whether it's virtually or in person. Maybe that's why we come together, to be reminded, right? Plato says that all learning is remembering. Our world is looking pretty messed up right now. I happen to believe that a new world is being born, but that doesn't mean it's not messed up right now. It doesn't mean that we will not destroy ourselves. But I feel that there is a new consciousness on the planet. It's both and not either or for me. Yet there is something fundamentally wrong with our planet right now, and I believe most of you would agree with me on this. Let's unpack this a bit this morning. Some would argue, that perhaps as human beings we don't possess enough knowledge at this point in history, in the history of humankind, right? If we knew better, we would do better. We have as much knowledge as we've had, though, ever since human beings have been on the planet, maybe even more. We have Google. We know more about advanced mathematics, about science, about social science and philosophy than we've ever known in the history of the planet. So no, knowledge is not the problem. However, knowledge is not wisdom, and so we don't want to mistake the two. We've made scientific progress, as long as we don't make the mistake of making science a religion, which we are dangerously close to doing. So it can't be science is the problem. Our scientific genius has been amazing. So it's not science. I think we have to go a little bit deeper to find out the cause of our root problems as a species. I've come to the conclusion that the trouble isn't so much that we don't know enough, but perhaps we're not evolved enough. It's not our scientific genius that is lagging, but perhaps it's our moral genius that is lagging behind. And that means this. That means the means by which we live has outdistanced the spiritual ends for which we live. King talked about this 50 years ago. So the planet looks like it does now. It's not our inner life that is the problem. Well, maybe it is our inner life. It's our internet has made the world a neighborhood, but we failed to make it a sister and brotherhood. We've not yet learned how to be just and honest, collectively speaking, how to be true and kind and loving. We've forgotten how to bring the timeless into time. Now, we've got some challenges before us. We've got social unrest and racism. We've got climate change. We've got a virus. We've got economic exploitation. We've got the threat of nuclear weapons. But the real danger, to my mind, confronting civilization today is not the atomic bomb. I mean, that is a threat. But the real threat are the bombs that lie within each and every one of us, the bombs that lie in our hearts, of all the people of the earth, capable of exploiting in the vilest hate and the most dangerous selfishness. That's the bomb we've got to fear today. The coronavirus is nothing compared to the virus of fear that is running rampant in the streets of this nation. The problem lies within us as human beings. Shakespeare said it wonderfully in Julius Caesar. The fault, dear Brutus, lies not in the stars, but in ourselves. So all I'm trying to say this morning is that sometimes we've got to look backwards in order to go forward. We can't live in the past, but we certainly can learn from the past. And that's what I mean about going back to rediscover the timeless and bringing it here. There's an old word in the Ghanaian language of akan. The word is sankofa. Literally, it means it's not taboo to go back and fetch what you forgot. In other words, it's okay to go back and reclaim your past so that you can move forward. So we've got to go back and get those priceless values and move on so we can live at least a civilized life in this day and time. The first bit of wisdom I want to share with you is this, though. The first principle is this. All reality, I don't care what anybody tells you, all reality hinges on moral foundations. In other words, this is a moral universe, and there are moral laws of the universe just as abiding as the physical laws. We know about the physical laws. You don't jump out of an airplane without a parachute. You don't jump off the top of a skyscraper. We respect the laws of gravity. Even if you don't know it's a Newtonian formulation, we know it intuitively, and we respect it because we don't want to suffer the consequences. Yet sometimes we have to go back to the timeless and work with those moral laws as well that need to be respected, maybe even more so than the physical laws. And sometimes I wonder if we really do believe that there is a law of love in the universe, and that if you disobey this law, you will suffer the consequences. I'm not sure we really believe that. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? I'll tell you why I think we don't believe it. It's because the law doesn't work fast enough for us. It doesn't happen fast enough. We want vengeance, and we want it now. We want to see the law, and we want our satisfaction right now. Give it to me yesterday. But that's not how life works. It seems at times that in this highly technological world, we've adopted a relativistic ethic. It seems that we've accepted the attitude that right and wrong are merely relative to our personal circumstances. It's easy to cave into peer pressure and to go along with the crowd. Some of our politicians seem to adhere to this attitude. They won't stand up because it's not popular, and of course they want to be reelected. So we have sort of a numerical interpretation of what's right. It becomes a popularity contest. But I'm here to remind you this morning that some things are right, and some things are simply wrong, eternally wrong, absolutely wrong. It's wrong to hate. It's wrong to hate. It's always wrong, and it always will be wrong. It's wrong in America, it's wrong in Germany, it's wrong in Africa, it's wrong in Russia, and it's wrong in China. It was wrong in 5000 BCE, and it's wrong now, and it will be wrong 5,000 years from now. It has always been wrong. It's wrong to throw your life away with the foolishness of racism. It's wrong no matter who it is, whether it's in Asheville or Black Mountain or Hendersonville, or even in the White House. It's still wrong. The second principle is that we as a collective seem to have adopted the attitude, it's a pragmatic attitude that whatever works is right. If it works, it's all right. Nothing is wrong but that which does not work. It's if you don't get caught, it's all good. It's all right. It's the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not get caught. For some today, you can still get caught, and it's all right. Whatever you do, no matter what you do, you have to do it with some finesse. It's the survival of the slickest. Instead of Darwin's survival of the fittest, it's the survival of the slickest. It's okay to lie. Just lie with some finesse and some charm. Lie with a smile on your face. It's okay to hate, but dress your hate up in the garments of love, making it appear that you're loving when you're actually hating. I mean, there are good people on both sides, right? It's okay to steal and rob and lie and extort, but you have to do it with a smile. You do it with some finesse. I'm thinking particularly the names of Brother Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, and Michael Flynn. Those names come to mind. Who knows? You may even get pardoned for it. That's the thing that's right according to the new ethic. This attitude is destroying our nation. It's destroying our culture. It's destroying our nation. And we need now people who are willing to stand up for right and to oppose wrong, wherever it is. And that's what November is all about. That's what November, that's what voting is going to be about. Wrong is wrong. Some things are right, whether anybody sees you doing them or not, and some things are wrong, no matter who sees you doing them or not. All I'm trying to say is that the world hinges on moral foundations. It's not personal. It's just the way the world, the universe is made. It's okay to know about biology. It's okay to know about higher mathematics, and we must also know the intricacies of universal law. It's okay to know that 2 + 2 = 4, but we've got to know how to treat one another as brothers and sisters, as human beings. It's okay to know philosophical disciplines, but we've got to be disciplined enough to know the simple discipline of being compassionate, the simple discipline of being loving, the simple discipline of being just. If we don't learn it, and if we don't learn it soon, we will destroy ourselves. Now, there's another principle, and that is that all reality has a spiritual mechanism to it, a spiritual control, if you will. You just can't put all of your faith in technology and gadgets. We've got to learn to cultivate our inner lives. This does not have to do with religion per se, but one must develop one's own moral compass. So what is it that you stand for? What is it? What's the point of your life? What is the point that you're trying to make? The unexamined life is not worth living, and the unexamined faith is simply not worth having. And we are living in a time of historic change, and we must work passionately, tirelessly, and intentionally to bridge the gulf between our scientific and technological progress and our moral progress. It's as simple as that. We suffer from a poverty of the spirit which stands in glaring contrast to our scientific and technological abundance. Each one of us lives in two realms, at least two realms, maybe more. The internal and the external. The internal is the realm of spiritual truths, and that's expressed in art and literature and music and morals and religion. The external is that complex world of devices and mechanisms and technology, the means by which we live. Our problem today is that we've allowed the internal to become lost to the external. Buddhism and other genuine spiritual paths teach us that we are not supposed to look outside of ourselves for validation. We're not supposed to look outside of ourselves in the external world for validation and support. We know this, and yet we cannot seem to grasp it. Everything of the external world is subject to impermanence. It changes. It cannot give us the sense of completeness that we need. It reminds me of Thoreau's phrase, improved means to unimproved ends. Dark storm clouds begin to form when the external nature subjugates the internal life of the human being. Western civilization is particularly vulnerable at this time, but so is the entire planet. Listen to this quote from an anonymous Asian writer. He has this to say about Western culture. It could be a she. You call your 1,000 material devices labor-saving technology, but you are forever busy. With the multiplying of your machinery, you grow increasingly fatigued, anxious, nervous, and dissatisfied. Whatever you have, you want more. And wherever you are, you want to go someplace else. Your devices are neither time-saving nor soul-saving. They are so many sharp spurs which urge you on to invent more technology and to do more business. Whoever said this is not just expressing sour grapes at Western culture. We cannot escape the indictment. We don't have to get rid of science and technology. I'm not advocating that. But our moral lag and spiritual lag must be redeemed. We have guided missiles and misguided individuals. Our hope for creative living in this world is destroyed when we let lies and our ability to reestablish the moral ends of our lives rule our lives. They take away our creative character and our sense of justice. Without this spiritual and moral awakening, we shall destroy ourselves in the misuse of our very own instruments. Timeless wisdom reminds us that peace is not the goal. Peace is the tool that we use to achieve our goals. We as human beings must be prepared to undergo a mental and spiritual re-evaluation, a revolutionary change of focus that will enable us to see that the things that we think are most real, most essential, and most powerful are the most unreal and the most deadly. Wisdom born of experience teaches us these things. Timeless wisdom reminds us that Good Friday must come before Easter. Timeless wisdom reminds us that the contradictions of life are never final. Timeless wisdom reminds us of the old folk adage that every goodbye ain't gone. Timeless wisdom reminds us that the past is not dead. In fact, it's not even past. Timeless wisdom reminds us that the bad news is that nothing lasts forever. Nothing good lasts forever, and nothing bad lasts forever. The Buddhists call this impermanence. This is just the meaning, this is just life. Timeless wisdom reminds us that the arc of the moral universe is indeed long, and it does bend toward justice. The Hindu prophet and holy man Tagore says that the one who plants trees, knowing they will never get a chance to sit in their shade, has at least started to understand the meaning of life. More truth-telling and wisdom. Let's begin to learn, or to relearn, how to bring the timeless truths into time. Amen, and blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is hymn number 144. Now is the time approaching. Hymn number 144. We extinguish this flame, this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Okay, gobbledygook, gobbledygook. Dun, 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 dun.